pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we're going to start off with some board introductions. We have via Zoom, we have Doug Mull, we have Aaron Mackey also, myself, Al Brooks, I have Laney Strelick. Our solicitor is Keith Billymeyer. We have from the township down to the right there is Diane Barry. Our court reporter tonight is Joan Mork. And also via Zoom, I believe we have Matt Takita and Ed Neubauer. Our first item tonight is a continuance. We have a letter. I'll just read the letter on behalf of my client. Dear Billymeyer, Mr. Billymeyer, on behalf of my client, Robert Liebel, and Tire Disposal Services, Inc., I am writing this letter to formally request the application before Falls Township Zoning Hearing Board scheduled for this upcoming meeting this evening at 7 p.m. to be continued. This meeting, this item would be continued to the October 11th meeting. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, if we can just mark that letter, his letter is dated September 13th, 2022. If we can mark that as A1 for applicant 1, we can make that part of his application. He also granted this zoning hearing board an extension to hear this matter as set forth by the MPC.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next item was Debbie Kuhl of 1380 South Pennsylvania Avenue, Morrisville, requesting a use variance to allow dance studio. Our solicitor's going to chime in on this one.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we realized that there was a mistake in the advertisement of this matter. The Bucks County Courier-Times ad listed the wrong subsection. This matter has to be re-advertised and reposted, and therefore, I believe the applicants were already notified of this, sitting in the back of the room. So we would need to have this matter opened on the record and then continued till the October 11th meeting.
Okay. Yeah, we already opened it, right?
Yes.
Okay, so and I believe we already talked about the township's going to notify, so no more work on your end. Do I have a motion to continue this matter to the next meeting, which would be again October 11th?
Yes.
I'll make that out.
All right, we have a second by Laney.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Aye.
that has passed. So we'll see you guys next month. We apologize for that. Okay, next one, we have Bristol Partners, Inc. This was continued from 8/9. It's 699 Philadelphia Avenue, also known as Bristol Pike, Morrisville, PA. Requesting a dimensional variance to allow gravel in lieu of asphalt in the drive aisles, section 209-42. You guys want to step up, and whoever is going to speak, we'll have you sworn in. Whoever's
Good
not a
evening.
lawyer.
I'll have two witnesses tonight. My name is Zach Sivertson. I'm with the law firm of Eastburn and Gray. With me tonight, I have two witnesses, Mr. Kevin Fruck, he's our engineer, and I have Liam Sullivan, he's a representative of the applicant. If they
Okay.
could just be sworn in, please.
We're going to have you guys sworn in, and we'll have our solicitor mark some exhibits.
Mr. Chairman, we'll mark the application for zoning ordinance appeal as ZHB1, along with the accompanying statement from the applicant's attorney. 2 is notice to the attorney for applicant of tonight's meeting. That letter is dated September 6th. 3 is 9 pages containing 9 colored photographs, one of which shows that the property was posted as required. 4 is a zoning plan for this subject property. 5 is proof of publication in the Bucks County Courier-Times showing this matter was published July 26th and then again August 2nd. I've been previously provided an affidavit of mailing by Mr. Sivertson We're going to mark that as A6, because I believe he has exhibits 1 through 5 previously marked.
That's correct.
And if I can just ask you, Mr. Verson, what you've provided to me, and I believe there's 7 addresses listed. Yes, there's 7 addresses listed. All 7 of those properties received a copy of the letter and notice of tonight's meeting.
Correct, yes.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I'm satisfied the appropriate notice has been satisfied. This matter can proceed.
Okay. Thank you. Go ahead.
All
Podium
right.
is yours.
Good evening. As I said earlier, I have 2 witnesses that are here and prepared to testify. I'm also, I can also provide an offer of proof for their testimony and just have them swear to it if that's going to help expedite the proceedings. This evening, we're here related to essentially a request for either an interpretation or variance from the requirement to essentially we have to pave our drive aisles under a provision of the zoning ordinance, specifically section 209-42D. This is a heavily blighted property that was cleaned up in the last few years. My client purchased the property. Their intention is to use it as basically a storage yard for tractor trailers. Right now, they have a current lease for a portion of the property. They went in and they performed what they believe to be maintenance work by putting some gravel down. It was brought to their attention that there were some additional township approvals and permits that needed to be obtained for that. One of those was the issue around the requirement to pave the drive aisles. Essentially, our argument and the basis for our request for relief is that this requirement is really kind of infringes on their flexibility in terms of how they use the property. In order to put the drive aisles in, they would have to obviously pave them to comply with this requirement. If they get a different tenant in that maybe is storing different equipment, they would then be locked into however the current tenant is trying to use the property for the tractor trailers. So really this request is to kind of continue the existing condition of the property, which was a junkyard that had gravel and kind of broken stone for many decades. And now we're really just looking for approval to kind of continue that, we would say, non-conforming condition of the property. So would you prefer if I bring my witnesses up to testify, or do you prefer to do the offer of proof?
Come on up, testify, it's fine.
Okay. All right, I would call Kevin Fruck. All right, can you introduce yourself to the board, please?
Certainly. My name is Kevin Fruck. I work for Cornerstone Consulting. Office is located at 1176 North Irving Street, Allentown, Pennsylvania.
And can you just...
Yeah.
And I will talk into the microphone.
There you go. Thank you.
And let me know if you need me to talk slower, or I'm always cognizant of the court reporters. All right, and what's your current profession, Mr. Fruck?
I'm a civil engineer. I work as a civil engineering manager for Cornerstone.
And what is your educational background?
I have a degree in environmental engineering from Wilkes University.
And what professional license do you hold?
I have a professional engineer in civil engineering in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware.
And who is your current employer, and what's your position with that employer?
It's Cornerstone Consulting, and I'm an engineering project manager.
All right, and turning to Exhibit Tab 2, and I'll note for the board that Exhibit Tab 1 is our deed for the property, just to establish standing. Turning to Tab 2 of the exhibit booklet, is this a copy of your resume that you provided to me?
Yes, it is.
And is this true and accurate to the best of your knowledge?
It is.
I would offer Mr. Fruck as an expert in civil engineering.
Okay.
All right. All right, turning to Tab 3. What is the document that I've included as Tab 3?
Tab 3 is the zoning plan that was provided to the township.
All right, and can you just describe for the board briefly, what street frontages is this property on?
Certainly, it's along West Philadelphia Avenue. It is generally a rectangular shaped lot with a triangle at the end where Ferry Road comes at that odd angle. The main frontage is West Philadelphia, but a lot of the properties in that area access off of Ferry Road.
All right, and can you just describe for the board, what is the nature of the surrounding properties? What's the nature of the area?
It's an industrial area.
All right, and what's the approximate size of this property?
It's approximately 9.7 acres.
All right, and then what existing improvements exist on the property?
Before it was cleaned up, it was a junkyard. It had fence and different things. Currently now, they've replaced a lot of the fence and the old gravel with a new gravel area.
All right, and can you describe for the board, what is the proposed use of the property?
They are proposing to store tractor trailers there, so not necessarily the vehicle itself, but the trailers on the property. So depending on what the user is, you know that trailers come in various sizes. So some of them are 55, 60 feet, some of them can be 30 feet. So in this case, I'm not quite sure what size they are, but the layout that was done anticipated the larger trailer size.
All right, and can you just describe for the board the general configuration of, or can you describe what is the paved area versus the non-paved area on this plan?
Certainly. On the plan that you're looking at, the paved area is the gray area, and the hatched area is what would be the gravel area. So the paved area, what we're showing here is this is the area that would typically be considered a drive lane. And so when you're dealing with tractor trailers, it's not the 25-foot minimum that you're used to for a parking lot. You're talking about something that's like 50 feet wide.
All right, and looking at the plan, I see a number of kind of lines crisscrossing the area that's indicated as being paved. What do those lines depict?
So that is, we did a vehicle turning movement just to show how much room that a truck would take. And you can see that 50 feet is fully utilized if it were paved.
All right, what is the approximate extent of the paving that would be required if you were to comply with this requirement in the ordinance?
The gray hatched area that's shown on the plan is approximately 140,971 square feet.
Okay, and so that's what we're looking to basically just keep as gravel,
That's
correct?
Yes.
In your opinion, is macadam pavement, is that necessary for this proposed use?
I don't believe it is because it's not a public parking lot. A lot of times you have this requirement because you have a parking area where the public can enter and exit and they're using that area. This is strictly for the tenant. So any maintenance is from the tenant, it's entirely their responsibility. So it's not like someone's driving off the road and they're going to visit a retail store. This is going to be locked and gated, and it's got a fence around the entire property.
So in your opinion, does the kind of the nature of the use distinguish this from other general uses where this requirement would be required?
I do, yes.
All right. Is the pavement required for vehicular safety?
I don't believe it is now.
If the variance were granted, would the variance have any detrimental impact on neighboring properties?
No.
What about the general public?
No.
And in your opinion, is the requested relief the minimum necessary?
I do, yes.
All right. I have no further questions.
Okay, thank you. Let me see if the board has any questions for you guys.
Sir.
Doug? Doug, you have any questions?
I have none at this time, Al.
Aaron?
Nope, no questions.
Laney?
No, I don't.
Myself, I have nothing right now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. And I would just call Liam Sullivan.
Okay.
Good evening.
Good evening.
All right, Liam, can you just, who's your current employer?
My current employer is Altera Property Group, and we are the owners of, also doing business as 699 Bristol Partners LLC.
All right, and that's the applicant for this application?
Yes, sir.
And what's your position with Altera?
I'm in development.
And in that role, what are your duties and responsibilities?
Duties and responsibilities revolve around all things construction, acquiring permits, government approvals, developing plans, so on and so forth. All aspects of development and construction.
Okay, now, Kevin already spoke a little bit about the specifics of what we're proposing, but can you walk through for the board, what is the proposed use of the property?
The proposed use of the property is for trailer storage.
Okay, and have you identified a tenant yet for the property?
We currently have a tenant right now. It is Home Depot.
All right, and how many vehicles/trailers would be stored in the property?
Right now, we have agreed that we would only occupy half of the property. So that would be of the roughly about 5 acres, and they're storing about 140 trailers on site.
Okay, and then once you hopefully are using the entire property after necessary permits and things are obtained, approximately how many trailers would be able to be stored in the property? Do you know that number?
I mean, you'd think double, but it's going to be a little bit less.
Okay. What would be the average turnover of the trailers on any given day? Like, you know, how often would they be moved in and out of the property?
So what's happening right now is Home Depot is actually using this as temporary storage. So materials coming in, they need to get it out of the ports, kind of stays there in the site until it's actually being used by to kind of fulfill any of the needs of the local Home Depots around here. From what I understand, Home Depot, this area would service Home Depots within about a 75-mile radius. So in terms of overall turnover, they were describing to me that they would have at most 10 tractor trailers that would be coming in and out of the property on a daily basis.
Okay, so approximately 10 trucks would be pulling in with a trailer, parking, unhooking, and then the truck would be driving away. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. What is in terms of an obstacle for this requirement, what is the significant issue that Altair is running into with having to pave the portion of the property?
Sure. So Home Depot came in and approached us looking for a short-term lease. As you guys know, we have some logistical issues just in general. So Home Depot was looking to kind of alleviate some of that and be able to provide material to their clients. So they have entered into a short-term lease with us. Now, they are using a WB67, which means that they have a 53-foot tractor trailer. We may have a tenant that may come in after Home Depot has finished up their lease, and if they choose not to renew, there are other tenants that would be out there that would potentially use something like a 40-foot tractor trailer or something even smaller. So as Kevin had attested to, there's a different turning radius that goes with different size tractor trailers, as well as you know, the ability, the length of that trailer itself, and it could all be reconfigured depending on what the size of that tractor trailer is. So right now we have 2 double-loaded corridors. We may have something that's a little bit 2 double-loaded corridors, drive aisles, but we could that could be condensed to allow for more or less tractor trailer space on site.
Okay, so the issue with installing the paved areas is essentially flexibility. Is that correct?
Correct. It would afford us, by not installing those drive aisles, we would have flexibility for other tenants to come in at a later date.
All right, and if you had to install the pavement, what would be the result when a different tenant came in and was looking to store different types of vehicles? Would you have to tear out that existing pavement and put new pavement down?
That would likely be cost prohibitive, so we would end up not utilizing the site to its fullest. So if you had, again, we have it spaced for a 53-foot tractor trailer. If we had someone that came in a little bit smaller, we wouldn't be utilizing the site.
Okay, now turning to tab 4 of the exhibit booklets, which I have presented to you, can you just walk through for the board, what was the condition of the property before, maybe not necessarily you owned it, but before your predecessor and title purchased it?
So when we had this picture dated 12/11/21, it was a junkyard in the state that it was being cleared by the previous owner. So the junkyard, you know, was segregated into several different partitions. There were fences that were in there, obviously gravel for, you know, the drive aisles and the lay down space that was in, trees, grasses and whatnot that was growing up. It was in disrepair for many, many years.
Okay, and then this picture, does this actually show after some of the cleanup had actually occurred?
No, yeah, that's a considerable amount of cleanup that happened there.
Okay, so this is just really an example of some of what had been on the property previously, correct?
Correct.
All right, and then flipping to the second page, I guess we can mark that, we'll distinguish these as 4A and 4B for the 2 pictures that we have. Can you just tell the board, what does this picture depict?
So in the picture dated February 24, 2022, again, which is prior to the ownership, prior to us taking ownership, it's been cleaned out considerably. Really, the only holdout we have is that would have been in the northeast corner of the property. That was an interesting fellow. In there's a lot of the vegetation has been cleaned out, some of the fences has been pulled out, gravel still remains, gravel drive aisles for the most part still remain. Yep.
All right, and what was the condition of the property? Was there currently pavement down when you were moving all this?
There were artifacts of paving. So there was, as you guys know, asphalt does degrade, gravel does eventually degrade. So we could see that there was asphalt that was on site. We could see that there was actually still a lot of gravel that was on there, and that was more lay down space. But yeah, it was at that point where it was broken up. It's all broken up.
All right, and what's the current condition of the property?
The current condition is the yard is cleared, and it's basically got 4 inches of gravel that's on the site.
Okay, and when you installed that gravel, your understanding was that was just kind of necessary maintenance, correct?
Yeah, we looked at that as understanding that the yard was gravel at one point. It would be, what we were doing was maintenance. So after the previous owner had cleaned out all of the debris that was in there, we then went through and, there's still car parts and bumpers and different things that were in there. We pulled them out, and then went through and put down 4 inches of gravel, as we mentioned, using that as under the thought that we would be maintaining the property, kind of bring it up to what we thought was code.
All right, and you subsequently learned that you required certain township permits and approvals in order to lay down that gravel?
Subsequently, we learned that that gravel, anything above 40 yards would be considered a land disturbance. So we learned that we could not consider that to be maintenance.
Okay, and currently you're working through the process with the township to obtain any necessary permits and approvals?
Currently, we're working with Cornerstone Engineering. We have submitted our MPDES permit. It's being reviewed currently by the Bucks County Conservation District. And we're working through all the entitlements that would be needed for that. So a full land development approval process, which is going to include some stormwater management.
Okay. Now, turning to tab 5, can you just describe for the board, what does this document show?
So that document is a Google Earth view that identifies our property in blue and nearby properties that are identified and highlighted in red. And those are properties that also have gravel parking lots. Most of them have all been newly gravelled, and we understand that to be newly gravelled as they have either been on the market to be sold and recently acquired, or were it was readily available, and that's how they were advertised, as a gravel parking lot.
Okay. So in your opinion, does this demonstrate that the presence of an all gravel parking lot is kind of not out of character for the area?
Correct.
All right. In your opinion, does the requested variance, does that allow for the reasonable use of the property?
It does, yes, correct.
And then I'll ask you the same question I asked Mr. Fruck. Do you believe that if granted, the requested variance would have any detrimental impact on the development or use of neighboring properties?
Correct, it would not have a detrimental impact.
And do you think it would have any detrimental impact on the general public welfare?
It would not have a detrimental impact on public welfare.
I have no further questions. I would just, I'll offer Mr. Sullivan 4 questions.
Okay. Board comment. Doug, any questions?
I have none, Dan.
Aaron?
Nothing for me, thanks.
Laney?
No, it sounds pretty straightforward. What are you trying to do, so?
Yeah, it does. Clean the property up a lot. I just have a couple questions. Now, these 140 trailers are gonna be in there. Right now, it's a fenced-in lot, barbed wire. Do you plan on having security there 24 hours? How do you guys plan on monitoring that with a tractor trailer sitting there loaded with Home Depot stuff?
So there is a security guard. Home Depot has hired a security guard on site, and they are stationed down by the Ferry Road entrance. In addition, the yard does have and yard lights, and that work had been permitted prior to any of this going on. We received it and were granted a permit for that.
Okay. And I'm looking at pictures here. It looks like we have barrels of oil on site?
Yes.
Is that, how many is that and what's going on with that? That's gotta go?
So those barrels have been removed. That was part of the early remediation
Okay,
process.
these are all gone?
Yeah, correct,
Okay. So they are not there no more?
correct.
When were these pictures taken? Can I ask, Ed, what, are you there? These are pictures that Ed took, I'm assuming?
I'm here, Al. I'm gonna say about a week and a half ago, and that oil's still there.
Oh, okay, all right, I apologize then. You know, if they are there, are those nearby the house itself?
I've been telling Leon about that oil for about a month or so.
Okay, then my apologies. I thought that those were removed as part of the, any issues that they had with the garage. And I know, Ed, we had discussed and we are going through the process to put together that demo permit. Post
For that, for the
posthumously,
garage,
put
for
that
the
in.
back of the building, and the fence.
Yep.
All right, so we'll be able to remove, because how quick do you plan on putting trailers on this site? When you,
We were granted, I think Matt Takata had allowed us to start parking trailers on there. I know that there have been trailers on there, but I don't know the amount of trailers that are on site.
but you still need us to give you a variance to park the 140 trailers on there,
Well,
correct?
The variance isn't for parking the trailers, that's a permitted use, it's just for the pavement.
For the
the
unpaved lot.
paving of the drive aisles.
So can we get the oil out of there?
Yeah,
And the
that-
barrels, I'm looking at barrels of oil also. I don't know if
Absolutely,
they're empty or these ones.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'd like to see them go.
Just so the record's clear, Mr. Brooks, you're referring to the Exhibit 3, the board's Exhibit 3, which includes 9 colored photographs.
Okay, if you want to, I don't know if you want to take a look at it, you have them?
No, I haven't been provided a copy of this.
Yeah, I always like to see that, because if that breaks open and starts going into the stone, we're not gonna see the runoff. It's just gonna go into the ground.
Absolutely. And Ed, I'll apologize on another thing, is we did have, I know we've had a landscaper that's gone down there several times.
Looks like you're gonna need a low lift or something to pick that up.
Yeah, we'll get them out of there. There's no doubt about that.
Okay. I have nothing else. Matt, is there anybody zoomed in? Any comments on this?
No comments from the township.
Okay.
No public comment online.
All right, thank you. Do I have a motion? Nope, I'm sorry. Okay, so within this, who's gonna read, you gonna read the motion? Can we add? Add the barrels were removed within 30 days. Would you be able to get the barrels out within 30 days?
Yes.
Is that enough time? Okay.
Yes.
Can we keep these pictures, or do you need them for the record?
Yes, I have the official
Okay.
copies for the record.
Okay, do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion. I move that the application of 699 Bristol Partners, Inc., requesting a dimensional variance for section 209-42.d of the Falls Township zoning ordinance be granted to allow gravel in lieu of asphalt in the drive aisles of the property located at 699 Philadelphia Avenue, also known as 699 Bristol Pike, Morrisville, Pennsylvania, 19067, as depicted on the plans and in accordance with the testimony presented to the zoning hearing board. Also, we would like to have the oil barrels to be removed within 30 days.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, Laney, pull the board?
Doug?
Yes.
Aaron?
Yes.
Myself, so yes. And Al?
Yes. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Thank you.
All right, I have a motion to close the meeting.
I'll make that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned.